Actually, that approach is one that I've been taking throughout my whole career, to think about the ancient world and how it informs our understanding of the biblical text. And so I've been doing it on kind of pointed issues in the Lost World series. But now is the chance to kind of take that same hermeneutical approach and say, what does that give us overall in the issue of theology, theology of the Old Testament, and not just what that theology was for the Israelites, but how that's important for us. Because lots of times Christians don't have a whole lot of understanding of how the Old Testament can help their own theological thinking. Lots of Christians think that they really have everything they need in the New Testament, that somehow the New Testament has replaced the Old Testament, and they really care a lot about Jesus. That's fine, and they care a lot about their salvation. That's good, but they don't realize that there's so much more in the Old Testament to be gained. The problem is, even if they realize there is more to be gained, lots of times they feel like they're not in a position to retrieve it. They don't know how to get that information. The first step is that when we recognize that it's an ancient text, we have to take all of our accumulated presuppositions and move them off the table. We have to be willing to say, okay, all the things that I think in my modern world weren't there. All the questions I have in my modern world weren't theirs. And therefore, we have to just kind of box those up and set them aside as best we can. I mean, it's really hard to do it, but as best we can to do that so that we can approach the Old Testament as exuding the ancient world. I decided not to do it in a book-by-book fashion, or even sort of the Pentateuch and the prophets and the poetry. I decided rather to do it in terms of the topics, the issues that were important in Israelite theology. So issues like covenant or creation or law, topics to try to probe what was it that the Israelites thought about these things, and how much of that was just sort of reflecting their culture, and how much of it was a theology that we can embrace as enduring theology for us today.